Jump in.
Let's go.
Hello and welcome again to a new episode of the KewCast. I'm John and I'm joined again by my good pal Eddie. How you doing, buddy?
I'm Eddie.
You are Eddie. What are we doing here?
Let's talk about paddles.
Okay, let's do it. We do have a good show despite the awkward intro, but we're going to talk about some updates to the Black Friday deals. There's some really good ones out there, so I'm going to give everybody updates. We started this a couple weeks ago on the pod. It's become a perennial thing, and man, this year seems special for Black Friday. We've got I'm going to offload some paddle x-rays, some of the ones we've been talking about in previous episodes I had not x-rayed yet. We'll look at those today. Got an update on the Enhanced Duo. A new one arrived. Going to talk about the 6.0 Coral in Paddles of the Week. And Eddie, you and I are going to update our paddle leaderboard this week. Exciting. So it's been a couple weeks. We got our top 5. We're going to see if those top 5 are still in place.
Might have a few little surprises on there.
Excellent. I like to hear it. We don't know each other's picks yet, so it'll be a surprise to both of us. We've also got some gear of the week. We're talking about the Blumaka inserts and Tales from the Ball Cannon. We're going to talk about a study by Keith Knaus, my friend who's been doing PB Core with me. He has a sweet spot study, which is really very interesting. And we got some Q&A after that. Anything else, Eddie? Did I miss anything?
That is a packed show. Loaded to the gills, man.
We are stacked. All righty, let's move on. So we do have a sponsor this week. Centerline is sponsoring the show again this week. You got your shirt on. Premium Pickleball athletic apparel. Their clothes are high performance and very comfortable, which is key. So a few other technologies. GripTek technology, which is on the shorts, kind of like the terry cloth to dry your hands before you grab onto that paddle handle. They have a AirLite collection, the word I was looking for earlier, which is their lightweight and very breathable collection. Moisture-wicking, quick-dry tops and tanks built for movement and performance. They also have UV protection. And just an FYI, their clothes do kind of fit a little loosely, which is the new thing. But if you like a more tailored fit, go a size down. That's what I did.
A lot of new colors for Centerline this year. Last year, they were kind of limited with like a gray and sort of a grayish blue and not a whole lot of variety. But this year, they've got tons of new colors, and I love them. They're very brilliant. They hold up well, and tons of compliments on these shirts. Yeah,
that's my new favorite color, the lighter blue. I've gotten some compliments, too. You can get 20% off with the code Johnkew. So thank you, Centerline.
Right on.
Speaking of deals, let's update everybody on Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals. First off, on our last episode, we talked about Black Friday. A couple of commenters were like, hey, what about ball machines? So I reached out to Titan, and they are doing a $350 off a machine of your choice with the code JohnQ from now until, I think, December 1st. So if you are looking to spend, and they're not cheap, they're over $2,000, I think. But you've actually just recently got one.
Oh my God, this thing is like the Ferrari of ball machines. The quality, I mean, you open the box, you could tell the quality is there. You turn the machine on, and it just exudes professionalism. And the thing is rock solid. The app is cool. It lets you pretty much place balls anywhere you want on the court because the machine, you set it up at the, on the baseline at the middle line. It knows where it is, so it knows exactly where to put those balls, and it gets there pretty much every single time.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Now, is it worth, the money? Well, if you're serious about pickleball,
right,
it could be.
That was not the Titan, but one of my first investments in pickleball when I first started playing was a lobster machine. I still have that thing, and I think it was well worth it. Even back then, it was $2,000, I think, or no, it was $1,200. I think is what I paid for that. But I've used that relentlessly, off and on. But I haven't used it in a while. But yeah, I mean, it certainly helps your game, especially if you're struggling to find partners who like to drill. And this Titan, I did look at the app. I haven't used the machine itself, but the app is really slick. You can program all kinds of drills yourself, and it comes with pre-selected drills. So good to know that you're liking it.
I get worn out way before the machine does.
Yeah. All right. So on to the next one. Yola just put up their Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals, which are going now until the end of the year. So all the way through December. They're selling all of their Pro 4s, all shapes, for $230, and including a paddle cover and 3 balls with that. I don't know which balls they're using, Helios, or they also have some balls that they use for all the PPA Asia. That's the official ball of PPA Asia, which is like a softer version of the Helios. I actually prefer that one. I don't even know what it's called, but regardless.
I didn't know that.
Regardless, yeah. So a bit of a cut on the Pro 4s. Our codes do not stack with that. But regardless, if you do use my affiliate code, we do get a kickback here, so it helps the pod. 11624, just a reminder that they're giving away $10,000 on the 20th, which is here in a couple days. So every dollar spent is an entry, and all the paddles are currently 20% off. So if you buy a paddle, you're automatically entered into this $10K giveaway. So pretty cool for 11624.
Do you have a favorite 11624 paddle?
Yeah, it's that Alpha
Vapor.
Pro Power. Yeah. How about you?
Same. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that came out right when all of the floating full foam cores did, so it kind of didn't get a lot of airwaves. But it is a fantastic paddle. Actually, I should have printed up one of those and put them on our runners-up for our leaderboard today, because I still haven't given that enough time. That was
Fantastic paddle.
Yeah. It was also when I injured myself, and I wasn't able to put in a lot of time with all the paddles. So. Good stuff from 11624. Bodie, 25% off site wide, starting it's pretty narrow window time frame, November 28th through the 30th. So if you want to get your Bodie grips or your perimeter weighting or towels or bags, and he's got everything. And all of it is good stuff. 25% off for those 3 days. Bread and Butter, they finally put out their Black Friday deal. It is the logo even is reduced down to $170 with code Bada Bing. Have you seen all of his Instagram stuff?
No.
So it's Doug dressed in like a wig, acting like a New Yorker, and he's giving deals. He's like Bada Bing, Bada Boom. So it's Bada Bing is the code. Does not stack with our codes, but again, use our affiliate code, and we will get a kickback. Also, the Filth, the Wild Thing, and the Psycho are dropped to $120. Pretty good deal there. And car towels, $25. The car towels are pretty sweet.
Towels?
Car towels, yeah.
CAR?
Yeah, so you hang them over your seat when you're sweaty to prevent your seat from absorbing all the sweat. So.
Okay.
And they look great, as all things do from Bread and Butter. All right, Centerline, our sponsor for this show, is also doing a 40% off site-wide. Yeah, from 24th of November through December 3rd. So keep an eye out for that. That's a big chunk of change off of their original pricing. Good stuff, Eddie. That's all I wanted to talk about for Black Friday deals. Let's move on to Paddles of the Week.
All right.
So I wanted to check, because I'm hearing from all my reviewer friends that they're all loving the Enhanced Duo. And if you remember, you and I hit with it, and we also liked it, but it wasn't like, wow, this is amazing. It was like, this, when I hit it, it reminded me of the Carbon True Foam Genesis, which is not a bad paddle by any means. Great paddle. But, it's not like by today's standards with all the floating multi-density foam cores. It was just like, yeah, okay, it was good, but, it feels a bit like an 8-month-old paddle, something like that. So I reached out to Drew, owner of Enhance, and I was like, maybe I got a dud. Can you send me another? And he overnighted one, and I hit with it today. Did you get a chance to hit with it also?
Yesterday, yeah.
Okay. What'd you think?
Better than I remember,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what my comments were the first time around, but I recall that there was some unevenness in the responsiveness across the face.
Uh-huh.
And I did not pick that up this time. I think it's up. I saw it.
There it is.
Yep. So I would say more consistent than the last time we played with this paddle. Better than I expected, frankly. The sweet spot's better. It's a very dense feeling paddle. You pointed out the Carbon True Foam. I think that's probably pretty close to how I feel about the density and
Yeah.
kind of the feedback from this paddle. There is a poppiness, responsiveness off the face, but it's very controllable. And the firepower's there. I would put it low to middle of the high tier power category. Maybe pushing high end if you really hit it firmly, but I would say middle of that high tier is probably where I would put it. The power generation is very progressive. So what I saw first time around with hotspots, I did not pick that up here. I felt the power response was very linear.
Yeah, that's great. Great way to describe it. So to me, it was a night and day difference. So I think we did get a dud. And that's not that, don't worry, that this happens with every paddle launch for every company. Occasionally the first batch that's released from the factory, will have one or two duds in that batch. So we apparently got one because the thing I noticed about that original one was you hit off center and it was very, it let you know, right? The sweet spot was pretty narrow, on that one. I didn't feel that at all on this one. As soon as I was tapping the ball, I was like, that's great. And I played a couple of games with it today, and very much a different paddle than the one I had. And I would also put the firepower. It's got some sneaky power because it is kind of denser feeling, and I feel like when you're hitting a paddle that's not hollow and stiff, like the boomstick, like all the Gen 3 paddles, you're used to those being the heavy firepower paddles, and when you hit something that feels different, especially if it feels a little bit softer and denser, you're like, oh, it's a control paddle. Well, this thing, when you wind up, you can really get a lot of sauce in the ball, and I would put it in the middle of the high power category. So really good firepower in this. And the other thing I noticed about this is it was dipping balls like the Carbon True Foam Genesis does. That was one of the biggest perks of the True Foam Genesis is that spin, the elite spin and the elite shaping you could put on the ball. I got that vibe with this. It doesn't necessarily give me the vibe of the True Foam Genesis anymore, other than the density and the shaping of the balls, because the sweet spot is better. For sure, much stiffer frame on this, and I feel like that's, there's a lot of different things about this than the True Foam Genesis, and I think it's a nice option. It fits in well with the full foam floating cores today because it is high firepower, denser, and a good sweet spot on this. I don't think it's quite as big as the Boomstick and the Loco, but those are like the benchmarks now for the Elite and the J2 and F and J6 and F on the Honolulu's. Those are like the biggest sweet spots on the market, and we're all spoiled because of those. This one is really close to those, but not quite there, So it doesn't remind me, if people might be saying, okay, I just heard your review of the Apes charm, and that was soft and plush. That was plush and dense. This doesn't remind me of that either. So it fits in a different slot. It has more firepower than the Apes, and yeah, it's just a different feel. So I think I need to put some more time in on this. I've only had a couple games so far, but I'm really glad that I asked and Drew sent me another copy of this because it is a different paddle for sure.
There's players out there that love the enhanced dwell time that we're seeing in a lot of these paddles. And some people don't like that. Yeah. Let's be clear. I would say the dwell time on this is not crazy. There's a pretty kind of instantaneous feedback that you get from this paddle. So if you're one of those people that doesn't need or love that enhanced dwell time, this is a really good offering.
That's a good point, Eddie. That's what differentiates it to me from the Apes.
Agree.
The Apes pockets the ball and then launches it back off. It's a springier paddle. This gives you that immediate feedback.
100%.
Yeah. But it's a denser feel. So yeah, we're filling in these gaps in the full foam paddle selections out there right now in terms of what you want for firepower, control, and feel, and there's a lot of slots in there for every one of these. So.
And this one looks 1,000% better than the Charm.
Yeah. They knocked it out of the park with this one in terms of design. I'd say that that's a good looking paddle. It's one of my favorites in terms of the recent releases. In terms of
I keep saying onk though.
Yeah, onk. Yeah,
give me that onk, John.
All right, so duly impressed. Enhanced. Yes. Thank you.
How much does that paddle cost, John?
Oh, that's another thing. It's I don't know exactly, but off the top of my head, it's a really affordable price after code. I think it's around $160.
Oh man, great deal if that's the case.
Yeah, $160 after code ish. So I'll put that link in the description. Okay. What's next on your paddles of the week list?
I got Proton.
Okay, Proton. I didn't have that in here. So, sorry, Proton. I'm gonna have to give you a little ribbing, right? Because to be fair, we gave so much grief to Honolulu for their J4 shape. And Honolulu took it in stride. We weren't mean about it, but Jam from Honolulu has a really good sense of humor, and he's like, all right, it's not our best looking shape. We just thought this was hilarious. And I just find it very odd. I mean, this isn't quite as bad as the J4. Not quite as much of a pizza peel. Neck. Yeah, but curious choice from Proton for releasing a wide body Flamingo.
Are people clamoring for this shape, John?
I saw Megan Dizon playing with it at Worlds. I was like, really, Megan? You're going to go from an elongated all the way to a wide body?
I was like, can't.
But
just can't.
To be fair, it does perform well. It has a big, wide, sweet spot, as you would expect with a paddle of this shape. It's just, I don't think it's going to gain any traction because there is an aesthetic property that people want to see in their paddles, and this to most people, I don't think looks good enough to play with. Yeah.
Eye of the beholder, John. Honestly, I didn't pick up like a huge sweet spot on that paddle either.
Did you not?
I felt a lot of negative sensations on just slightly off-center hits. And I do see that on these really extremely wide-body paddles.
Okay.
That the sweet spot is not the huge dinner plate that you might expect.
Not what you would expect.
Yep. Hey, before we leave that, maybe people aren't clamoring for that shape, but there is a shape that people are loving these days.
Okay.
Got a sample here. I mocked this up. It's still early days.
They just need to go a little wider and shorter, right?
Super wide body. The super ultra wide body.
That looks like Mjolnir. It looks like Thor's hammer.
It's like I said, it's early days, just a mock-up, but I feel like this is the future of pickleball.
I think you and Lewis from Pickleball Pursuit should have a podcast because he did a mock-up at one time too, at a cardboard or something.
Did he? Okay.
And I love that.
It's legal.
How's the sweet spot on that? How's the twist?
Well,
weight?
you'll have to hit it with the cannon. Let me know your thoughts.
Right.
Long handle too.
Yeah. Long handle, wide body. All right. This one I actually did enjoy though. So this is now their Peacock. I think we can talk about this one now. It's been in the works for a while. We got some prototypes of it a while back and did not talk about those because we didn't want to spill the beans. But compared to the prototype that I hit back then, this is much improved. And I think I'll flash a X-ray of the prototype on B-roll because I have not X-rayed this yet. It just came in yesterday right after I got back from the X-ray. But I think what they've done is the original one, it does have like the Proton cut into the interior foam, like a Proton symbol, right? Similar to how, there are cutouts in some of the...
That would only show up on X-ray?
Some of the EPP. It only shows up on X-ray. Okay. You know how carbon has the holes and the voids, and there are different ways to do it. They put the Proton symbol in the middle of it as a cutout, which you can see in the X-ray. But the original one just had a big block of EPP foam and then expanding edge foam around the exterior. So it was thermoformed. It wasn't Gen 1-ish like the carbon True Foam Genesis. But that one was, to me, just felt a little bit, kind of mid. This one, I'm almost positive, has a thicker EVA band in addition to the edge foam. I can feel it squishing in on the edges. I don't know if it's a horseshoe-shaped Peninsula Yola style or if it's all the way around floating.
It might be all the way around.
Okay. Regardless, it played well. I enjoyed playing with it today. Played a couple games and has good firepower. I'd put it, initial impressions, put it in the middle of the high power category, so ample firepower. Decent sweet spot. It's not quite my shape. I like a little longer handle on my elongateds, but that's big enough to get two hands on. And it felt good hitting it in a similar way to all the floating full foam paddles out there with the EVA band.
Okay.
Yeah. What are
I
your
was
thoughts on it?
pleasantly surprised by this. I had a lot of fun with this paddle, John. Kind of like the enhanced, very linear power response. The more you put in, the more you get out, which is great to see in terms of predictability for a paddle. Makes things very intuitive. I would put it a little bit below the enhanced in power, so lower end of the high tier. But the ball response off the face, very controllable. As I said, it's a very intuitive paddle, very predictable. I had a ton of fun with this.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I did not put enough time in with it to really hone in on that linear versus exponential power curve. It felt, yeah, I'll hold off on that before I give any judgments.
I would say not as dense and maybe a little more buttery than the enhance.
Okay.
So less dense, more buttery.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good stuff from Proton on the Peacock.
It looks great. I like
This one does
I like
look
the
good.
colors and the design.
It's growing on you, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I like how you put an actual overgrip on this.
Well, yeah, it's got to have the right feel and tackiness.
All right. And, next, what's next on your list?
The coral.
You got the elongated behind you on the wall. Yep. Yeah, so 6.0 is launching the Coral, which will be out at the end of November. I did not write down the dates, and I don't know yet the price of these. I think for sure they're going to be cheaper than the Black Opal. But I'm imagining somewhere around 200, maybe just north of 200, and then 200 with code. So that's my guess. But these are full foam paddles. They are EPP in the center. And I was surprised looking at the X-ray. I think I have the X-ray in here. Yeah. It's a very similar look to the Black Opal in the sense that there is a floating central core. Now, on the Black Opal, it's a different type of foam. It's that microcellular white stuff. This one is EPP. And then there's a band of EVA. On the Black Opal, it's really thin. On this one, it's thicker. This looks to be maybe a 1/4 inch thick that goes all the way around that center foam. And then you have what I think is the center foam again, so EPP around the exterior, and what looks to be edge foam outside of that. So lots of layers of foam in here. Now, what they also did to the interior foam is, I think they're calling it the, God, what's it called? Oh, by the way, these black edge guards are not going to be the final design. They're going to have some nice coral design, colored edge guards on them. But these are the final production models, everything else besides the color. I think it's called a tectonic core, where they're incising it, similar to how Apes did. But I think they're going both ways on this. I don't see it in the X-ray. Actually, I do. If you zoom
It's
in
very faint. You're right.
all the way, there's like maybe 1/2 inch squares going all the way across the paddle. So that's helping with dwell time in the same way that the Apes was doing that. But I like how they're doing it both directions here, because I feel like on the Apes, it's cool that they are going horizontally because that helps with kind of the whip effect. But the vertical ones actually help with that taco bend. And, you know, I should say, when the paddle is allowed to flex along its central axis like a taco, that helps with like spin. It's like the horizontal strings on
You're introducing some new terminology, John.
taco bend. I think that's out there.
Is it?
I think I think Pickleball Science has already introduced that. But anyway, it's like the cross strings on a tennis racket that spin the ball, right? So good to see that in here. I think we'll talk about the impressions on the court. It also has, this reminds me of like these 6.0 ones in the X-rays with this silicone and the inserts in the handle. They look like buttons on a nice shirt, so it always looks like they're a little dressed up for
vibration reduction.
For vibration reduction, it has the diamond tough
I was going to
grip
ask
on
about
it.
that.
Yep, and it's got the gel, power gel, binding the top layers to the core.
There's a lot going on here.
So it's basically all the technology from the Black Opal, with a different type of central foam and a different arrangement of the foam layers outside of that central foam. Now, let's talk about how it played. So you played with the elongated. I played with the hybrid shape today. What'd you think of it, Eddie?
Killer, dude.
Right.
Again, I wasn't expecting. I was expecting just the next version of the quartz. which was fine, but it didn't really get me excited
Uh-huh.
until I hit that first ball, man. And God, the feedback on this thing is incredible. You get the feeling of lots of dwell time, but in a paddle that's not the Opal in terms of power generation. So it's not going to overwhelm folks in terms of power. It's squarely in the all-court Tier 2 category, maybe mid to high Tier 2.
Okay.
But the level of control and feedback on this thing is really kind of special. And I would say if you're looking for that all-court paddle with high dwell time, which I can't think of another paddle right now that has quite this combination of those two factors.
Okay. Yeah. Would you call it buttery?
I would call it buttery.
All right. I got the Eddie
Yes.
stamp of buttery approval.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. So I hit with it today, and I was duly impressed. I hit with it without weights. Right when Dale gave these to me at Worlds, I brought them back. We hit with them at Worlds too at the 6-year event, and at the event, I was like, "Yeah, I like these corals," and that was without weight. When I put these slice MOI weights, what are they called? Sliders on it. These are the 5-gram ones. It really, really helped with the feel and my attachment to the paddle. So I put these on. The final swing weight, twist weight is 117.5 after the weight and 7.5 twist weight. So pretty ideal kind of setup here. It helped with the firepower also, or increased the firepower, and just the forgiveness of it. So I was really enjoying this one today. Get great spin from the Diamond Grit, and I want to main a paddle now that has either Diamond Grit or Infinigrit or something along those lines, because I just haven't had enough time with these to know if they actually are more durable than raw carbon fiber. So that's kind of my goal moving forward is testing out these paddles. But otherwise, yeah, it's a buttery, denser feel, not as dense as the Enhanced Duo, but it's got kind of a hybrid feel of the denser Duo and these full floating cores like the Honolulu's, the J2NS and the J2FC pluses. It's forgiving in that sense. Good sweet spot on this. I need more time with it. At first, definitely without weights, the sweet spot doesn't feel as good as the Honolulu's or the Loco or the Boomstick. But after adding these weights, I was not having any problem at all with the sweet spot. I need a little more time before I can say whether or not that brought it up to the elite level or if it's still good but not elite. Firepower, especially after the weight, I would put it a notch above the J2 and F. Yeah, so the J2 and F is right at the bottom currently of my high power category.
Okay.
And I felt like this was delivering maybe just a smidge more. But yeah, definitely not like elite tier power. On the flip side of that, really good control with this, especially with the enhanced spin you're getting with the Diamond Grip and kind of the plusher feel that this provides. I was having no problems controlling the ball. So I feel like it hits a good spot for players who it'll be competing directly with the Honolulu J2 and F and J6 and F, in terms of that level of firepower. But I feel like it's in a good spot. I think all these new technologies that are used in this paddle will be appealing for people, especially the Diamond Tough Grit. If it's actually 5 times longer than raw carbon fiber, then that's a huge selling point, right?
I mean, you can't really beat the spin on these. It's I don't know if you've got numbers on it, but it felt pretty top tier to me.
Yeah, I got numbers on the Black Opal, and that was right up around 2,300, which is elite spin for sure.
So you're getting top tier power, well, lower part of the top tier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So high power, lower part of that. That's my initial impression. I have not. We did PB core test this. I haven't looked at the results. Erica put those in my inbox, so I took a look at those. But just from my couple of games I played with it today, that's where I felt it belonged. I think this for sure is going to appeal to a much wider audience than the Black Opal.
Totally.
Yeah. I think I keep saying this, but most people will want to play with the Black Opal. And when they first pick it up and hit with it, they're going to be like, this is an amazing paddle, because when you hit a drive just right, you're like, man, I've never felt anything like this. But that thing is really hard to control. Sweet spot's a little smaller. I did get the newest production model in Dallas at Worlds. It does feel improved in terms of the beam flex, The others are a little too flexy, the originals that we had, which I think was hindering the sweet spot a bit. I need to put it in a little more time with that. Initial impressions are that the sweet spot is improved, yet it's not elite like the Selkirk Boomstick and some of the others.
Did you pick up any difference in power?
No, I think it's similar power. It felt a little bit more muted, but I think that's just because it was brand new, and mine were broken in. So I'll put that on the Q-Core Cannon and see what that says, and then play with it a little more. But back to my point, I think the Coral is going to be much better for 99% of people out there. Not that the Black Opal is bad; it's an amazing paddle. But to really realize the potential of that, you've got to be very, very high level. And I think that all of us under the 5.0 level will connect much better to the Coral.
I just love the way you can work the ball with this.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about this one. And it's good to see new paddles coming out from 6-0 after a big hiatus too. That's about all I have on the Coral.
Did you want to talk about some of these other X-rays?
Yeah, let's move on. So I went back to the chiropractor yesterday and got a bunch of X-rays done. So last week we talked about these warping point paddles. So Tina Pisnick's new sponsor, and here's an image of the X-ray for the Phoenix, which is Tina Pisnick's signature paddle. And like we suspected, it is, this looks exactly like the Selkirk Era or the 11624 Power Series, right? So it is a fully floated honeycomb polypropylene core with the surrounding EVA band about 3/4 inch thick, and polypropylene honeycomb continuing into the handle. It even has the same signature kind of edge wrapping over the lateral edges. It's probably a piece of unidirectional carbon fiber, maybe bidirectional weave fiberglass, but that's the signature of that factory that produces these paddles for all these companies. Now, the piece of tape looking stuff on the very tip of the paddle actually is tape. That's why I was holding the paddle to the X-ray board with. So ignore that, but the pieces of what look like tape on the lateral edges are internal.
Is this wide cell, John?
No, it's 8mm.
Okay.
But very familiar look and plays well, just like the 11624 Powers and the Selkirk Era. Now it's going down to the warping point neon. So a little bit of different stuff going on here. The EVA band surrounding the honeycomb polypropylene is not quite as thick. It looks to be maybe 1/2 inch thick, so a little less EVA, a little more honeycomb polypropylene. There's some internal edge weighting at 9 and 3 o'clock, and then you have expanding edge foam going up from the handle into the neck and then stopping before it hits the cheeks of the paddle. So that's just a interesting, different way to do it. And then what looks like tape on the lateral edges, same look. So yeah, I didn't mind the neon. My favorite was the Phoenix. The Phoenix, and then the neon was a close second. It's a stiffer paddle, but I thought it played pretty well. It's stiffer, which makes sense because the EVA is thinner on this.
And did one of these have foam-filled cells?
Yeah, I did not X-ray that one.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, we've already looked at the Coral.
We got the apes down there.
Here's one before the apes. So the Enhanced Duo, do you see that one too?
Mm-hmm.
So again, ignore the tape on the top of the paddle. That's what I was holding the paddle to the X-ray board with. But, we've all seen, and I have one out here, I just didn't grab it, but the internal core is a black expanding polypropylene EPP foam, and it has, you can't really see it on the X-ray at all because you see an EVA band going all the way around it, except for right at the neck. But what's going on there is like a sandwich effect where the EPP expands all the way out to the very edge, but they create a groove basically on each side of the edges of the EPP where the two slivers basically of EVA foam sit. So it's kind of sandwiched.
Gotcha. So there's a notch in the middle section.
Yep, exactly. And you can see that in plan view here. All right, moving down to the Apes Charm. This X-ray turned out nice. So we've got, you can see the PU foam in the four corners. And then the expanded polypropylene core center with those horizontal incisions in there. So as we expected, I did do a first look review of the Charm, and I think it's a good paddle. It's a really good paddle.
Man, I played with that paddle last night, John, outside. It was about 45 degrees.
Yeah.
And it played much stiffer than what I remember.
Yeah, really?
It had lost all its plushness. And the balls were just rocketing.
Firing rockets?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, it has sneaky power, even at regular temperature. I think a lot of people underestimate its power because it does feel plush and dense, and that's not the profile you typically associate with power paddles. But yeah, when I got the radar gun out, I was like, oh, this thing is launching balls a lot faster than I thought.
Yep.
All right, Eddie, shall we move on?
Yeah, that turned out to be a great week for paddles.
Yeah. I'm going to bring in the prop. Do the same.
Oh, yeah, we're going to do that.
All right, Eddie, let's update our leaderboard.
Let's go.
We've upgraded our technology here. We have magnets, with pre-printed magnets on here, thanks to Erica for her excellent penmanship. So, last time, do you remember your ordering of your top 5?
Yeah, I think I had the Vatic at number 1.
Okay.
Let's see. I had the Opal at number 5. I believe I had the Luzz at number 2. The Quanta. And the Loco. I think this is my order.
Yes, it was.
All right. And these are all excellent paddles. I would consider them, the ones that I haven't mentioned, honorable mentions.
Okay. I'll put mine up in order too. So I had Gearbox GX2 Power, Luzz Inferno, / I was cheating, Bread and Butter Loco at 2. And I had the Boomstick at 3. I had the Quanta and Viso Power at 4. Where's our Viso?
You got it there.
Oh, yeah. Where's the Quanta? Here we are. And then 5 was the 60 Black Opal. All right. And I've got some ones down here just in case we want to. These are honorable mentions down here. But why don't we go one by one, Eddie, and see what has changed, if anything. So starting with number 5 and going up to number 1.
All right. So I'm going to make a little swap here, John.
Okay.
I'm going to take out this Black Opal and replace it with its sister paddle, the 60 Coral. I think the overall playability of this paddle tells a real story.
Uh-huh.
Fantastic.
Dang it. You stole my thunder, Eddie. But I'm glad we're on the same page here. So, yeah, definitely was impressed with the few games I've had with the Black Opal, especially after weighting it up. I think it really responds well to perimeter weighting. It's one of the paddles that gets transformed with perimeter weighting. So, and it's very light stock. So that is my number 5 spot, as well as yours. What am I doing here? I can't read, Eddie.
Take it away for number 4, John.
60 Coral for number 5. All right, so we've already talked about the Coral in our previous segment, so we won't get into the details here again, but let's move on to 4.
Right, so my number 4 will remain the Rhombus Quanta.
Okay.
Great all-around power, playability, I think with some added weight, which is really a necessity for this paddle in particular.
Okay.
You've got a real winner.
Okay. Now, I just want to mention that these are, a reminder, these are our personal top 5 favorites, not what we think are the best paddles for everybody. It's what we'd like to hit with for various reasons. Performance is one of them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that if a paddle doesn't make our top 5 or drops out of the top 5 that, it's not a good paddle.
I like to think of it, John, as the 5 paddles I'm going to put in my bag to play with on any given day.
That is exactly what I'm doing with mine. So my Bread and Butter Loco is now at my number 4 spot. So I don't necessarily see this as a demotion as much as me kind of clarifying my thoughts on which paddles I'm really enjoying to play with. So I'd put my bread and butter loco at number 4. And yeah, it's no secret that this is a great paddle. Huge sweet spot on this. It is an elite tier power paddle. It's a notch below the Selkirk boomstick, but it's in the middle to upper range of the high power category. So if you're not, if you don't want that much firepower, beware. It does have a layer of fiberglass too, which gives it a very, poppy response. So that's another thing that you have to be okay with. But the sweet spot on this is fantastic. The spin is great. The feel is great. Just all around. Shapes are really good too.
Yeah, the sweet spot's fantastic. The controllability, because of that large sweet spot, makes it just eminently usable.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm going to keep that at my number 3 slot.
Number 3, okay. My number 3, I hate to say this, but the gearbox has gone down 2 spots. It was the paddle, my number 1 for months now.
That was your benchmark.
It was my benchmark. I would go out to the courts, and I'd play the first game with the Gearbox GX2 Power hybrid shape. That was my favorite of them. I didn't care much personally for the elongated shape. It felt a little too narrow for me, but this hit all the right boxes for me. And it's what I calibrated all my other paddles with. And I still love it, but there's some other paddles that have, and I'm just saying, these aren't necessarily the top 2. They might drop out of the top 5 entirely. So.
Is there something about the GX2 Power that you're disliking more than maybe before?
No, I mean, like I mentioned last time that the grip doesn't feel the greatest to me. The handle when I do a 2E. Something about the way the neck flares just spreads my top hand out a little too far. I would like a little bit larger paddle or a different flare. But that's a personal thing, it's in no way, it's a 5.5 inch handle. So it's plenty big for a 2E. That was just a minor thing for me. The more I play with it, it's got a great sweet spot, definitely the biggest in the gearbox lineup, and up to the release of the boomstick and the J2NF and the Loco, it had probably one of the biggest sweet spots on the market. I would call it just a notch under those other ones I just mentioned, those full foam elite sweet spot paddles out there right now. So because of that, I noticed a little bit of difference. The very top of the paddle didn't feel quite as responsive. The top 2 inches, I would say, not a dead spot by any means, nowhere close to like the Paddle Techs or Gen 1 paddles, but it just, you hit it up there and it wouldn't go as far as when you hit it up there on the others, right? So,
by the way, you got the white edge guard version behind you, and that looks so good.
I wanted to mention, Gearbox has a bunch. Go to my website, look at the Black Friday sales. They have a bunch of good sales, and they have this new colorway for the GX2 Power, which I think
I'm loving that.
I would love to. If I was maining this is definitely the color I'd be choosing. Yeah, white edge guards, white handle,
black
bluish.
face.
There's a bluish tint to the edge guards, right?
The edge guard's all white. The lettering is blue.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. So I think that's a limited run.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
All right. You're number 2, Eddie.
Man, there's some good paddles down here in the honorable mention that I would love to throw up there. In particular, I'm looking at the Thrive Fury, fantastic paddle. The Honolulus have come so far. Mm-hmm. They're all just knocking on the door right there. But for now, we're going to put the Vatic V-Sol Pro at number 2.
Okay. I'm dying to know, Eddie, if the Luzz Inferno is staying on your list, because if it is, it's going to be number 1. Okay.
It might, yes. The V-Sol's just, when you throw in the X factor being price in this case, I don't think you can do any better in the world of pickleball.
For sure.
And frankly, at any price, this paddle is fantastic. I've got the long handle flash version that I think everybody knows I've been loving since the day this thing came out, with the 6 gram per side, the boomstick setup.
Yeah.
And this thing, frankly, the more I play with it, the better it gets.
So it breaks in a little bit, just a little bit more forgiving.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have a ball? I noticed my V-Sol Pro flash got a bit boomier when I was hitting the ball. Okay. It definitely got deeper, but it also, it's that sound. That's not quite a boomstick level sound, but getting close.
It's getting more deep-throated.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, Eddie.
How about your number 2, John?
And just, again, it's worth repeating that just because I moved the Vatic V-Sol and the Rhombus Quanta out doesn't mean I don't think they're amazing paddles, because they are. And if I were having to judge them objectively in terms of what I think is best for people, including value, those would be both in the top 5, because they're amazing paddles for $100. Mm-hmm. I'm not considering price here. I'm just like what I'd love to have in my bag. So the Luzz Inferno staying at number 2.
Okay.
And I did play with that one at Worlds and loved every minute of it. The issues I have with it right now are that the paint on the edge guard comes off so quickly, and that can be fixed with the automotive clear tape, which I'll put on my next one. And the grit, the peel ply, seemed to have worn off a little quicker than I had anticipated on my forehand side, which is normal. My forehand side gets more hits, and it usually wears down faster. But it was feeling pretty smooth at Worlds. I was still able to get good spin because of the dwell time, I think, but
right.
the face felt pretty smooth. So, just dipping into my bag and feeling the Infinigrit and feeling the Diamond Tough texture, I'm like, I wish that texture was on this paddle. So those are my only concerns with the Inferno. A lot of people were tuned into the sound of it because it is very loud and very deep and bassy, and I got a lot of looks. And I'm like, it's not a core crush paddle. It's full foam, and it's not crazy power either. Because I've even Q core tested it after it broke in, and it was just a minor bump and overall firepower. I'd still put it in the middle of the high power category in terms of overall firepower. But great sweet spot. Love the feel of that MPP together with the EVA.
Yeah.
Oh man, it just feels so good. Yeah.
Yep.
Number 1, Eddie, is Luzz going to stay up there?
Well, before I talk about number 1, I actually would like to make a change.
Okay.
To my list, and that is I'm just gonna swap these 2.
Okay. Wow. So the Coral is
It's really made an impression on me.
Okay. I like it.
I think it's a little bit better balanced and a little bit more forgiving than is the Quanta. So I'm gonna just bump that up a notch.
I like it.
And my number 1, John. We're just going to keep that right there.
Hey.
the Luzz Inferno.
All right, let's see what you did with it. You got it last week. You got a new one.
Yeah, so I've been playing with this one pretty much exclusively since I got it. Put it through the ringer. I really like the way the power sits right now.
Okay.
I wouldn't want it to be any more powerful. Mm-hmm. And the dwell time on this thing is pretty fantastic. It's still a little bit gritty for me, but I've got some automotive paint protection film on
that
there.
looks good.
And that thing just glows.
It does. Look at that. That is a sharp-looking paddle with the tape on. So we can put a link. I also met a guy at Worlds that is manufacturing this for paddles. He has them pre-cut for 16-millimeter paddles. So no.
Man, cutting that thing is a real pain in the tuchus. So
Okay.
that would be really nice to have. It's not the world's worst chore, but
So
it does preserve that very delicate paint finish.
Yep. So you got weighted tape. Is it tungsten or?
It's tungsten, 0.5 gram per inch, probably 5 inches worth.
And then you got the clear coat.
Yeah, and the clear coat has a little bit of weight too. I would say that's about 3 grams of clear coat on there.
Did you measure the swing weight?
Not yet.
Afterwards?
No.
It's over 120, I would say.
I would have guessed about 120.
Yeah. Not uncontrollable, but yeah, that's looking good, Eddie. So what are you liking about the Luzz Inferno?
Oh my gosh, the power delivery, the dwell time. The sound is a little off-putting, but you quickly forget about that. But
I'm going to bounce the ball on it. Give us.
Oh yeah, that's low and muted, right?
I love that sound.
Yeah, it sounds so good.
Yeah.
But the things you can do with this in resets, defense, but also just some beautiful drives that have a good amount of dip. I don't think I'm going to miss this grit when it's gone. I think there's enough dwell time here where it's going to generate some spin on its own.
Yep. Yeah, it was just a thing that bugged me when I was touching it. And yeah, I noticed that there's a little less spin than originally, but the dwell time is definitely spinning the ball.
But you had to say something about not hitting it on this side and only hitting on this side.
Is that your forehand side?
Now it's in my head.
Okay. For those, I don't know if I mentioned on the pod, but the graphics on that one side are very thick. Like those lines are thick. And I hit a forehand one time on this side, and I went straight into the bottom of the net, and I'm pretty sure it hit one of those lines and slipped off. Or it could have been my bad form. I don't know. But it got in my head too. So now it's exclusively forehand side this blank side, yeah.
Yeah, I have to do a better job of not listening to you. All the time.
Hey, most people don't, so this should be easy.
Number 1, baby.
Number 1. All right, is the Selkirk Boomstick going to stay in the list?
I'm going to say no.
Eddie, it is now my main paddle.
Oh.
And it's the elongated.
Well, the elongated is the better paddle.
You like the elongated
Yes.
more than the wide? I thought you played the wide body.
Nope.
Okay. So, as I mentioned, when the grip, the Inferno was wearing off, I was dipping into my bag and I was hitting with the black opal. I'm like, this thing's crazy. Like, no way I'm going to play with this in a tournament. And then playing with the Boomstick again. And I'm like, part of this is I love the feel of it. And part of it is I want to test the Infinigrit. I want to test also the diamond grit on the 6.0s, so the coral might eventually make it up to my main. But that aside, I still love the feel of the Boomstick. Yes, it is very powerful. Yes, it is very poppy, but I've come to really love that hollow, stiff feel. And it's the opposite of what I used to love. A couple years ago, I was all about the dense, soft, dwelly. And I can still play with those, and I still appreciate them. But I like that instant response you get from the Boomstick. The ball is off of it, so it's predictable in that way. It is a little bit difficult to control, but I've noticed in my, I should put flashes on the screen, but I have got like 40 matches recorded in PB Vision, and it's providing some statistics about my game that I wasn't aware of before. So this is really fascinating to me. I always thought that I erred on the side of being too offensive on the court. We mentioned this last time, and the needle was like right in the middle for me between offense and defense. And I was like, wow, I thought it was, because normally when I miss it's when I'm trying to speed up or something and it goes way out. But after I've entered more matches, it's actually gone pretty strongly. The needle has gone to the defensive side. And my scores, you can see it kind of spreads out into this graph that shows you what your strengths are. My biggest strengths are my serve and my return. Surprisingly, my returns are typically deep. I thought I needed to work on that. Those are my 2 biggest strengths. The other one that's my 3rd biggest strength is consistency. I was like, what in the world? So what's happening, and my lowest score is offense, and second lowest is defense. And what's happening is I'm being too cautious. So I wanted to work on more offensive play style and then taking advantage of opportunities to instigate. So, and I noticed that, I'm not doing that as much as I should be doing. So enter the Boomstick, playing with friends, and as soon as I get the Boomstick and I start being a little more offensive, they're like, man, put that paddle back away. Like I hate it when you play with that paddle. It's like you play too good with that paddle. So I think it matches my play style if I am of the mindset that I'm not just going to be resetting. I'm not going to play boring pickleball. I'm going to take advantage of, occasionally or frequently instigating and trusting that I can eventually, put the ball away. So loving the Boomstick, like the feel of it. Yeah, and the elongated. Who would have figured? I was been a wide body fan for so long, but I just like that extra half an inch of reach you get with the elongated. It's come in very handy a couple times. I also feel like I'm able to really put the ball away better than I can with the wide body. With an elongated, because of the leverage you get with it, with the longer handle.
Have you made any adjustments to weight or anything like that?
No, I play it exactly as it comes out of the box with those MOI weights. To me, it doesn't need anything else.
Overgrip?
Overgrip, yeah. That's the only thing I put on it. But yeah, it's a great paddle.
Man, that's interesting, John.
Yeah.
The Boomstick is like right there for me.
Okay. Well, let's talk about if we had to choose one.
Choose one as an honorable
mention?
mention?
As a 6th, what would you put?
Oh, man.
This is tough.
I don't know if I can do just one.
All right.
If I have to choose for today, I'm gonna say Abe's Charm.
Okay. I like it.
I need more time with this paddle though, so all this with a grain of salt, but I've seen enough good things from this paddle where if it was a different color, I'd like it even more.
Yeah. I'm going Honolulu J6.
It's going to be on mine too.
Yeah, that is just a solid paddle. I love that J6 shape.
Yep.
It is fantastic for an elongated shape.
I think we're going to see that shape a lot.
Yeah. It's an elongated shape that hits like a hybrid in terms of its sweet spot, but it has the advantages of an elongated in terms of leverage and reach.
Yeah, we don't get to have each a Honolulu, so can we just throw that in the middle or something?
Put it in the middle, yeah.
So good.
What about 7? Should we keep going?
Oh, man, I'm going to put the Boomstick there.
All right. That's convenient because I don't need the boomstick anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Boy. Geez. I'm going to have to put these two together again.
Okay.
On certain days, I'm leaning Quantic because I like that stiffer response, more immediate response. Other days, I just love the feel of the VSOL Pro. So that's my number 7 spot. And yeah, would you put the Thrive Fury above the Black Opal at this point?
No. The Black Opal's so fun, and
Yeah.
and when you're on, you're on.
Yeah.
And this paddle can't be stopped.
Yeah. I might even put the Thrive Fury elongated above the Black Opal at this point. Not that I'm not loving the Black Opal, but I've hit it enough that I know that it's not for me. You know, there's just too much juice in it, and I can't. I'm not skilled enough to control it. So
Fair enough. So we've got 1, 2, 3 in common.
yeah. This boomstick came out of nowhere for me. I thought I might, end up in 6th or so out of the top 5, but
It's not quite as intuitive for me. I struggle a little bit with launch angle with this paddle.
really, okay.
And I can get it, I can work with it if I'm thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
But if I'm just out there playing like instinctually,
Yeah.
it's more difficult for me.
Okay. Yeah,
Different strokes.
that's the fun part of personal choices on top 5 paddles. We don't have to be so objective and quantitative. It's just something about the feel of the paddle, and it's illuminating that we have very similar tastes in paddles, but we also come at things differently. And a lot of our paddles are of similar mind, but they're organized differently as well. So
I love this list.
me too. Good idea, Eddie. And let's move on. Gear of the week. I just wanted to give an update on Blumaka. This is something that originally Justin from Pickleball, etc., turned me on to with his discussion on his and Lewis's Pickleball Pursuit podcast. And what I liked about his description of them is that they stick to your feet. Your feet stick into your shoes and don't slide around. I was having issues before my injury, but especially after my injury with rehabbing my feet, my right foot in particular, with my foot sliding into the front of my shoe on abrupt stops, and it was kind of smashing my toes up a bit. So wanted to prevent that and tried. So I ordered, they're not cheap, $60 on Amazon. I ordered the Max Cushion ones, and those were the only ones I saw on Amazon. It was just like Max Cushion or no cushion, right? So I chose the Max Cushion. Ended up loving them. They did not have any added arch support, but then the owners of Blumaka ended up seeing the podcast, and they reached out to me. They also reached out to Justin and sent you and me several pairs of all the varieties of insoles, of inserts. And I wanted to update everybody on that. So I'm still loving my Max Cushion, but I did switch to the Max Cushion with medium support. There's a high arch support, and there's a medium, and there's one that's kind of regular. Mm-hmm. I chose the medium.
Okay.
And I absolutely, these are my insoles, 100%. Like everything about them, I just love. So these ones are white. They have some plastic support on the arches and the heel, and it has that same high quality foam, sticky. Your feet stick on them really well in your shoes, and something about the shape of them is just perfect for my feet. So loving these, and yeah, like I said, these will be my ones. I'll try the Max Cushion high arch, but I don't think I need that much arch support. But I do need a little more arch support than the flatter ones. So these are my Goldilocks ones. Yeah.
They really do provide a locked in feeling. Mm-hmm. To your that whole foot to shoe interface is just very stable, very secure. It does give you a lot of confidence. Mm-hmm. Don't know that it results in any greater capability athletically, but the feeling does give you a great sense of security, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I noticed is that on high impact strikes where you're lunging for a ball or doing something like that, it seems as though that cushioning just sort of spreads out the impact forces across the whole sole versus a very harsh impact in one area of your foot. And I really did appreciate that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not getting the bruising feeling on the ball of my feet as much, and which is surprising because if you feel on that, it's not a lot of padding in the ball of the foot. There's a lot more on the heel, and I was worried that the ball is too thin on the padding. But something about this foam is very absorbing, and like you said, it does kind of spread out that shock.
Yeah. I hope they hold up at $60. That's pretty pricey.
That's very pricey.
An insole.
Yeah. And take it with a grain of salt, but the owner did say that these are extremely durable, and he's had people reach out and say that they've been on the same pair of insoles for months.
That's good to know.
After several pairs of shoes. As an aside, I've been loving these Pro XR squares. Not the look of them; they're not my favorite look.
I think they look great,
but they're wonderful performing shoes. My only gripe with them is the ventilation is very poor, so that your feet sweat a lot in them. But I mean, I can get over that for the performance for sure. And I've got a selection of dozens of shoes in my closet lately, and these have been my go-to.
All right. Yeah. Do you feel as though these insoles? I've only played with them outdoors, and it's been pretty chilly lately, so the heat hasn't been a problem. You've probably played with them more inside. Have you noticed? Does heat buildup being an issue?
No, I mean, even in these squares, which get really hot, you mean changing the performance, like softening the foam or something like that?
No, just in terms of making your feet sweat. Because it seems that, just tactily, it does not seem very, breathable.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a thermal aspect to these that increases, the heat inside your shoe. I haven't noticed much difference at all, though, with those versus the previous foam ones I got from Amazon. So not a concern to me. They make several varieties, like I said, high arch, medium arch, low arch, and they even make some with the kind of a cloth cover that aren't as sticky if the sticky thing isn't in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, those actually feel pretty good too.
Do they?
Yeah.
Are those the ones you're wearing?
Yeah, this one's actually a high arch. I'd probably classify this more as a medium.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I would struggle with a high arch support because I don't need it, but I haven't had a problem with these. And your feet are going to slide a little bit more on this particular version.
Okay. But that's your fave?
No, I would say that that
the sticky one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, and they also gave us a discount code.
Nice.
So you can take 10% off. I think it's 10. I'll put in some B-roll text if it's higher or lower. Definitely not lower, but 10% code Johnkew. So yeah, thanks to Blumaka for reaching out, and I love it that I finally found some insoles that I'm really happy with. It's been a couple of years now really searching for quality insoles, because the first thing I do when I get a pair of shoes, court shoes, is rip out the stock factory
for sure
insoles, because they're usually terrible, right? Some of them are better than others, but nothing comes anywhere close to these in my experience. So
the only caveat I would throw out there, and this really isn't a word of warning, it's more just something to keep an eye out for, is that they do take up some room in the shoe, more than your normal stock insole. So if your shoe is very sort of lacking in height, you might feel as though you're standing on your shoe and not in your shoe.
Okay.
With the additional volume.
Yeah.
But for most shoes, it's probably not going to be an issue.
Yeah, I've noticed to me, they feel very similar to other performance insoles in terms of the added height it gives you. So you're going to be, I don't know how many tenths of a millimeter it increases your height, but it's noticeable, and it also decreases the space inside your shoe, which can be a good or a bad thing, right? So to me, it's typically a good thing because my feet are narrow and I typically don't fill up the shoe as much as they should. So this provides a little bit more, so I don't have to cinch the shoestrings up so much.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Man, we're going late. Let's try to zoom through fairly quickly on Keith's sweet spot study. I could spend hours on this, but I won't. I'll spare everybody.
It's pretty cool, though.
The details.
It's worth discussing.
Yeah. So this is Keith Knaus, and he has a website now called technicalpickleball.net. Definitely, if you are on the nerdy side in terms of your, quest for knowledge and paddles, then go check out his website. A bunch of really good articles on PB core methodology and all these experiments on paddles. And his latest 2 articles, it's a 2-part series, was on mapping sweet spots. And like I said, Keith is the one who built my speed gate on my PB core cannon. We're doing simultaneous PB core testing. He's been a great help. He's an engineer by trade, retired engineer, really smart guy. But what he wanted to test was, can we fire a cannon at a paddle in a grid system and look at the outbound velocity and map, where the performance locations are as a proxy for sweet spot on a paddle. Mm-hmm. And the methodology is using a ball, the same thing we're using for PB core testing, shooting a ball at 50 miles an hour at the paddle, recording inbound versus outbound velocity. It gives you a ratio. Now, the PB core formula has a bunch of other bells and whistles on it in terms of paddle physics to get that PB core result. But if you take a raw kind of inbound, outbound, you can also do a different calculation on it outside of the PB core. And what he was looking at was what's called the equation of motion can be used to determine the ball speed during a dink, block, flick, or smash. And it's built into the PB core formula. Remember, I keep talking about the reason why we have to map the performance location across the face of the paddle on longitudinal axis is because it varies, and there's going to be a performance spot where it's highest, usually 4 inches down from the top. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 3. Sometimes it's all the way down at 6 or 7. Regardless, there is a correction factor in the PB core formula which uses this equation of motion that calculates it based on the pivot point. So in other words, as you're swinging the paddle, the top of the paddle will be moving faster than the parts closer to your hand. So it's calculating that because we're shooting at a stationary paddle, which is giving misleading results unless you're just holding the paddle for a block. Mm-hmm. Because, so that equation of motion, what he did was take the raw outbound velocity, inbound versus outbound, so the raw COR, and then use that equation of motion, so that correction factor in the PB core, and just use those in isolation with each other, and looked at the performance of 4 different paddles. So we have a Quanta, Rhombus Quanta R2, the original Friday, which was a Gen 1 construction. The Pulse V, and his is in fact core crushed. So it's more than just broken in. Remember how the Pulse V's changed sound? Right. And they would soften up. His actually became core crushed. It was an anomaly and became very powerful. And a Selkirk Power Air Epic. Now, where does the equation of motion come in? Well, it's calculating the different types of swing. So he calculated, I'll show this in B-roll. If you look at the swing of a serve, the pivot point is about 10 inches off of the butt cap of the paddle, right? You're swinging it kind of with a shoulder movement, but a little bit of elbow in there too. So
10 inches towards your shoulder.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So there's a little bit of wrist whip in there too.
Somewhere up here.
But yeah, when you're probably on your forearm, depending on the size of your forearm, right? That's about where the pivot point is. Now, when we're clamping it for PB core, it's 2 inches from the base of the paddle. That's the pivot point. He dropped it down to 10 inches for a serve. And he can calculate, average what different types of shots would look like. So a punch or drop is a lot more wristy, mm-hmm. right? He looked at Gabe Tardio and video to calculate that. A dink. So a dink is actually, a shoulder pivot, which is it's a bigger distance between the paddle and the pivot point. And then,
So it's just a change in the equation, not a change in the setup mechanically of the paddle.
Exactly.
In the machine.
Exactly. It might be the case. I think there's a change in the inbound speed too, because for dinks, you're not hitting it at 50 miles an hour.
20 miles an hour.
Right. So
15 maybe.
Yeah. So let's look at blocks. So first, blocks are using just the raw data because the paddle isn't moving, similar to how we're shooting it on PB core. So what he defined as sweet spot is anything within, so if you take the max performance location, so the spot on the paddle that returns the most energy, and anything below 2 miles an hour outbound of that is outside of the sweet spot. So that's the range he's looking at. So let's say, the ball comes off at 20 miles an hour. It's shot at 50, it comes off at 20. That's the maximum outbound. you go 2 inches off that. If it's 19, that's still within the sweet spot. If it's
So nothing to do with vibration perception or
Nothing.
anything like that. It's just simple inbound versus outbound.
purely mechanical and performance.
Gotcha.
right? So anything outside of -2 miles per hour, outside the sweet spot. And here's what it looks like on blocks. So when you're holding the paddle, still at 50 mile an hour inbound. Small sweet spot on Power Air Epic, which is understandable.
That's surprising.
Pulse V, small sweet spot. That surprised me. Now, I did say that the Pulse V that he has is core crush. So what you're seeing here is a hot spot. That to me is different than a small sweet spot. So a hot spot is it comes off really hot right in the center of the paddle where it's core crushed, and then there's a big drop off outside of that. We'll get back to the Pulse V in a minute. Friday, also a smallish sweet spot is your Gen 1. And then look at that big old sweet spot on that Quanta R2. This is the R2 shape, their wide body shape. Mm-hmm. So all across the middle of the paddle, it's within 2 miles an hour of each other. Now, real quick, he's doing this in 2-inch grids. And I understand why, because it's a pain in the butt to shoot at 1-inch intervals. If you did that, it would be twice the number of shots, right? There's an argument here to be made, though, that to really dial in a heat map of the sweet spot, you need to go down to 1-inch intervals because you might be missing the performance spot at this. Because sometimes there's going to be a performance spot if you go 1 inch down. Sometimes it's a 4, sometimes it's a 5. If you're measuring 4 and then 6, the 4 might erroneously be called your sweet spot or your performance spot when you're missing the real performance spot. Regardless, I think this is very eye-opening and has a lot of good information coming out of it. All right, let's move down to serve. So again, the pivot point is 10 inches off the base of the handle here. And again, small sweet spot on the Epic, small on the Pulse, small, not quite as small on the Friday, so it's a little bit longer. And then, wow, that Quanta R2 is just, all of those spots are the sweet spot. All right.
So still using 2 miles an hour
Yeah.
as a differential versus like a percent change from the performance spot.
Exactly. So if you look,
Interesting that you would use the same number for both serves and dinks.
yeah. Yeah, so what is the performance? So it's 61.8. Yeah, that's the highest one, and that's at 2 inches center. And if you look, everything is within, 57.9 is outside of that 2 mile per hour range.
It is.
So it seems that circle should be drawn a little bit differently. Regardless, big old sweet spot on the Quanta R2. Punch or drop, again, same pattern, smaller sweet spots on the Pulse V, Power Air Epic, and then the slightly larger on the Friday, Gen 1, and then biggest on the Quanta R2. And here's the interesting part. So if you go to the dinks, it looks very similar on the Friday and Power Air Epic in terms of those being smaller, but then the Pulse V is much larger. And what he figured out there is that when you're hitting it at lower speeds, it takes away kind of that trampoline effect and doesn't trigger that hot spot as much on the Pulse V as it does with higher inbound and outbound velocities. So I just thought this was cool. And, I was emailing with Keith and I was like, hey, how'd you deal with kind of twisting on off-center shots? I haven't done that yet with my ball cannon,
right.
but I imagine that the grip, the tightness of the grip will matter at that point. So that needs to be standardized when you're not shooting along the center axis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if, let's say you had a loose clamp and a hit off center and the paddle spins, it's going to lose its velocity much more than a tighter grip that is able to withstand some of that twisting a little bit more. So I would like to run this test myself if I ever get time, or maybe Erica can do it when she gets time. We need to hire
I think it's definitely promising and worthwhile. Presumably you don't have to measure both sides of the paddle, just one side, right? Because they should be bilaterally equal.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know if he did that or if it's...
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's see. 57, 54,
they look all the same.
Yeah, I bet he did. That's smart, Eddie. You're decreasing your...
By half.
Yeah. All right. So go check out technicalpickleball.net. Keith is full of great ideas and valuable data that he presents on his website. All right, let's move on, Eddie, to Q&A. Did you get a chance to pull any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple questions here for you, John. First one is from Fernando Molina. I think we've heard from Fernando before. I heard from other reviewers that they noticed the Inferno paddle carbon face wore out faster than normal, or rather very quickly. Can you look into that? And you've already have some anecdotal evidence of that.
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet, but you've certainly got more time with yours than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I have a n=1 sample size, so it's not, necessarily scientific by any means, but I do feel like it wore down a little faster. Isaac Olson also said his wore down faster than normal. You got one. That'll be our third data point, so we'll check in regularly with you.
Have you noticed a change in spin?
A little bit of decrease, but not as bad as I would expect with the level of smoothness that I'm getting on the face. Like I said, I think the dwell is really helping with the spin on that.
I will say with my Vatic that I do have a lot of time with, that's pretty well smoothed out at this point, and yet I'm still getting sufficient spin. Okay. I haven't seen any degradation in spin, to be honest.
I'll do an official spin test on my used Inferno. I've got a third one. I've got another one now, a new one. I'll do the same automotive tape on it, set up, and start playing with it again, and test the old one as well in terms of the spin to see how much I lost.
It'd be interesting to see like the relationship between high dwell and low dwell paddles versus grit, and to see how that may change over time. A user or a commenter left an excellent idea in the comment section of one of our podcasts. I'll go and look it up and give him props, him or her. But they said what we should do for an experiment is get a bunch of those pickle skins, slap them on a bunch of different paddles, and then measure the difference in spin. And that's going to give you an idea of dwell time, how much dwell actually, because they're all those pickle skins are going to provide very similar levels of spin. And if you get 400 RPM difference between one paddle and then the next, you know that difference is mostly due to dwell, right? Interesting.
Yeah, so that would be a fun experiment.
All right. Look forward to some results next week, John.
Got all the time in the world.
Next question from Greg's 69RS, or maybe it's Greg S. But speaking of grit wear, I'm hearing anecdotal talk about the Lifetime ball wearing grit off paddles faster than other balls. Have you seen this? And did Worlds use the Lifetime ball?
No, we did use the Lifetime ball at Worlds. Thank goodness. It played so much better. Like I remember last year, all the funny hops with the Vulcan ball. And yeah. So the only issue I have on the side with the Lifetime ball is the variability between a new one and a broken in one, right? Sometimes during the match, we'd get a brand new Lifetime ball, and that thing is springy. And then after a few hours of play or a few games of play, they have used ones cycled in as well, and those play very nice. So I was always looking for the used one to play with and ask the opponents, and can we play with this used one? Okay, but to the question, I have noticed, and our groups around here haven't widespread adopted the Lifetime ball up until very recently. So the people I played with today at Relish, we were using Lifetime balls, and another group I was playing with has finally have adopted Lifetime balls. But I have seen, even my experience at Worlds may have resulted in Inferno grit wearing down a little quicker than usual. And the lead up to Worlds, I was playing with a Lifetime ball. So it may not be an issue of the Inferno. It might actually be the Lifetime ball wearing grit down. But what I've noticed in the people that do say, so I was rimming with on an Airbnb with Chris and Isaac, and they were showing me their paddles. So Chris he's maining the Loco, and Isaac is playing with a couple different ones for pro qualifiers, but the Luzz. And they have very visible linear stripes, which happens on courts, but a whole bunch all across their paddle faces. So, when you're playing on a dirty court and you start to see like some little linear scratches on your paddle from the ball scratching the peel ply, that was happening on their paddles, but like 10 times as many linear scars. You can actually see like there's a trend for Chris's, he has more kind of vertical, and Isaac's is more kind of horizontal according to how they impart spin on their ball. So I think what might be happening, and this is something that Zane Navratil mentioned too early on, is he thinks that the Lifetime ball gathers little particles from the court more than other balls, and those particles are scratching the paddles, not necessarily the plastic in the ball, but the particles that it is picking up. I did look at a lifetime ball compared to a used one, compared to a used Franklin X40 under a microscope, and I was hoping to find some information there, but it is the pockets of debris are very clustered on each ball. So to get an idea of whether or not one has more debris on it than the other, I would need to control how many hours is played with it and make sure they were used on the same courts.
That's tough analysis.
And scan the entire ball with the microscope, because you'll run into a pocket where there'll be like 10 pieces of debris, and then you'll go, what seems like forever before you find any other pieces of grit. And that's for both balls. So as yet undecided, but it's an intriguing hypothesis.
Isn't the lifetime ball just a smidge heavier than the Franklin ball?
I don't think it is.
No?
It feels heavier.
Yeah, it does.
But that's the weird thing about balls. So a ball that's actually lighter in reality can feel heavier based on certain qualities of that ball. So it's not any heavier, but something about the plastic might actually, embed more grit in it, which can scratch your surface.
I'm surprised Chris's paddle has such damage, given that all he does is lob. Should be pristine, that paddle face.
I'll give a shout out to Chris in the description of the video.
Well, let's wrap it up there, John.
Oh, no more questions?
That's it.
All right, Eddie. Well, thanks so much. See you next time.
Thanks.